Ogden Way podcast, a place where we tell the story about Ogden by telling the stories about Ogden's people. My name is Jaynee Nadolski, and I am here today to once again flip the script and go beyond the headlines with Mayor Ben Nadolski.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah. We had a good vacation last week.
Thankfully. Boy, was that needed.
Necessary.
I know.
Things have been busy.
But good to be back.
Yeah.
All the work doesn't necessarily
stop
continue.
while you're over there.
Yeah, so we're a little backed up right now.
Yeah.
But my team does a really good job keeping everything running and trying to give me some space so I can get some recovery. And we had a great time. It was nice to connect to family and say goodbye to my dad at the beach and all that stuff. And really refreshing, but nice to be back.
Yeah, it was nice to be back. And it's nice to be back just because, we love living in Ogden. But I do miss the beach.
Sure.
Things seem easier there for some reason. But, we're kind of entering into silly season in politics. And so I think a lot of people start to pay attention during a campaign season and they have questions, how is the mayor, how is city council spending their time, spending their resources? And so I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of go behind, what's actually going on. Because I know you're super busy all the time.
All the time.
I know where you are most of the time when you're at work. Like I can kind of see, I know where, if you're going to be in town or out of town. I know where you are when you're home, on those fun occasions when you are home. But I think a lot of people want to know how you're spending your day. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about that.
I think it's, in my job and in politics, it's always silly season. But there's peaks and valleys, I guess. Yeah. It's all relative, right?
Yeah.
But I wish I had more time to share what I do, because I'm proud of the things that we do, and I have nothing to hide.
Right.
It takes energy and effort and resources and time for me to share the time I spend. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the challenges I have, and sometimes I get frustrated because I can't share it enough. But I want to share it as much as we can, so I'm glad that we're here to talk about it. Because we spend a lot of time engaging with our community. We are out, boots on the ground, in our city, and it's one of the most fulfilling parts of the job is you think you know Ogden, right? We've been here a long time, and we have been out and about in this city and had amazing experiences for a lot of years. And still in this job, you continue to find corners of and pockets of Ogden and different parts of our community that you don't know exist. And it's really fulfilling to be a part of that, right? And they, for example, the Marshallese community from the Marshall Islands, you don't know how big and vibrant that community is until you become a part of it and engage with it, right? And those citizens, residents, constituents, people that we're here to serve, love it when you become a part of it, because now they have a connection. And this is really important because community engagement is more than just showing up, saying some things, and then leaving. It means you show up, you share a message, but you leave behind information and a pathway to connect with me, us.
And you also take things with you.
Correct.
You bring, here's the needs of this community.
Right.
And how they want to be involved. And I haven't met anyone from the Marshallese community yet, but you've spoken very highly about them. Mm-hmm. But I have met citizens from the Kashmiri community during the campaign.
There's another example.
It's
another example.
That was amazing to learn about their history, learn about why they're here, and how much they love where they live now and want to be a part of the broader community.
Right, and really how they came here. Mm-hmm. So the Kashmiri community is very vibrant, and Kashmir is a region. It's a contested region between India and China and Pakistan, and it's volatile. And so they're here for a reason. They're here for peace, and but they still love their nation. But they love being in America. They're very thankful for being here, and they're here in all the right ways.
Very genuine.
Very genuine people. Very family oriented. It's fun to experience the values that are the same across different international communities, because at the end of the day, we're all human. It's all humanity. Yeah. But the important thing is we don't just engage. We don't just show up, say some things, and leave. Right. We leave behind a way and a pathway into accessing me. Right. And I can't be available for everybody all the time directly, but me and my office, my influence, my authority can. And that's the goal of my engagement, is to use my position to put as many people in my seat of power as possible. Mm-hmm. Because this is a very, I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah.
right? We feel very fortunate. It's a blessing. And I don't want to just sit in this chair and use it for myself. I want to take this chair and give it to as people as possible. I want as many people to sit in it as we can,
Yeah.
Metaphorically. But, and that's where having a really deliberate approach with staff that helps support it, but also a network of volunteers and community members in other parts and sectors of our community really play a powerful role. And what it does is it opens your eyes, but it also opens up new avenues and new pathways.
Right.
Pathways you never knew existed. And that pathways goes from kitchen table all the way to international engagement and everything in between. Mm-hmm. We are not a homogenous community. We are a very diverse city. We are an international city, and people do not give us credit for that.
You and I have talked about before. We've gone to other cities, and I won't name them, and we just go to the grocery store or something, and we're like, there's zero,
no character
here, no diversity, no culture.
Like, where's the food?
Yeah,
like we're right.
I don't look at it from the food thing, but you've always been more of a foodie than me.
Yeah.
But just feeling like there's no. It's so homogenous, I guess that would be the word. And so I enjoy, it's a nice little great thing about Ogden is its diversity. And I think you're right. We don't get credit for it, but I love that the people of Ogden have embraced it.
Yeah. I love it when we're on vacation or something and we'll go to another city and you'll hear our kids say things like, there's just no character here. Everything feels the same. That's their way of saying there's no diversity in this place and that they miss what we have.
Right.
And we take it for granted. Another thing we take for granted is the fact that we're an international city with international significance and international connection. When you're a diverse city, and I'm sure anybody that's watching or listening to this probably hasn't thought of it this way, but think about where first-generation immigrants come from, and think about the significance and the cost and how hard it was for them to get to that point, especially when they're achieving such high levels of success here. And we have business owners here that are first-generation immigrants that are killing it economically here. Mm-hmm. Think of the influence and connections they have where they come from.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that. We've spent some time in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Yep, that's right.
You've spent more time there than I have.
I have.
I've done one trip with you. You came home. You got sick when you came home, and I was like,
I knew you were going to bring that up.
You are a foodie. You like to eat.
I may have eaten some fish. Yeah.
All of the things. But you, and I enjoyed it. There's a lot of people. And I remember.
Yeah, you're not as much on the.
Well, it just kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Let's be clear, we're talking about personal travel.
Yes.
That you and I were on.
Yeah.
But we don't I'm glad that we went to the beach. That's our one family vacation that we've been doing every year for 40 years or so. Mm-hmm. My family, and we are a huge family.
Huge family.
There's 100 of us or so that gather there every year for a family reunion. And that's important for building our own family. But when we go on vacation, we like to vacation with experience, right? And that trip, so I think it started in 2019.
Yeah, you went once before I went with you.
Okay.
So I think
I've been 5 times since on our own dime. And that's a lot of help from former council member Luis Lopez, who at the time, like in 2019, we were both on the city council together, and he was really pushing a lot of initiatives that would help local Mexican business owners. And there was just a big divide and a big disconnect. There's like a cognitive disconnect between that lifestyle, that experience, that culture, and what my day-to-day life was.
And I remember Luis would try to explain it.
Right. And he's like,
he'd get so passionate, and you'd be like, I'm not seeing what you're trying to say.
He was getting kind of frustrated because he's like, just come experience it. So we spent our own money to go. And that's a life experience that's worth every dollar we spent. But what he's trying to share, like you ever hear people say, having diversity in your friends brings diversity in your mindset and in your relationships in the world. And that's exactly what Luis Lopez has brought into my life. And that's what he brought as a peer on the city council. That's what he brought to my service, to my mindset, and my leadership, is seeing the world through the lens as much as I can for 1/3 of our city. That's a lot of people. That's over 30,000 people here.
Yeah.
And
people are always surprised when I share that with them. I'm like, do you have any Hispanic people we have living here? It's not a small portion. It's
right. And so
vibrant.
So we didn't go just for tourism's sake. In fact, we were very off the tourism path. Every time I've been there, and the 5 times that I've gone on my own dollar, We don't do tourism things. We do cultural and connection things. And the other part of what he offered was he had a life before coming to the United States.
Fascinating life.
Right. And he is a first-generation immigrant himself who has worked really hard to, at that time, be at the same place as I was. Mm-hmm. And our pathways were totally different, and his was much more challenging than mine, right? Mm-hmm. But what he opened my eyes to is the economics in Mexico and the economic opportunity that is totally untapped here in Ogden. Mm-hmm. We have, without any deliberate effort, 1/3 of our city driving economically here to make a living, to make a go. And if we could put more deliberate attention into nurturing, economic opportunity for 1/3 of our city,
that's huge.
That's an enormous boon.
That's huge.
Right?
Yeah.
And so he has really opened my eyes to the untapped potential of that economic opportunity here. And he opened my eyes through introductions over the course of the 5 trips, and we built a lot of relationships and spent a ton of time meeting with officials in Mexico.
Yeah.
Meeting with people, prominent business leaders and community leaders. Mm-hmm. And he opened my eyes to opportunities for international engagement and what that means for what that could mean for Ogden. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward to, now I was a city council member then, now I become mayor. Mm-hmm. One of the things I also do for engagement is I have to engage with other elected officials, right? From other city council members around the state,
right?
Especially in the county, to other mayors, to county commissioners, to state legislators, and our congressional delegation, governor, et cetera, right? And so when I was first elected, we flew out to Washington, D.C. to meet with our congressional delegation.
Right, I remember that.
And we've got a series of things that we need help and support with at the federal level to help move our initiatives forward for Ogden. And because of those connections that we made in the 5 trips that we self-funded, we were invited to be on stage, the world stage, one of the biggest stages in the world, Times Square.
Times Square, yep.
And through NAIMA, the North American Institute of Mexican Advancement.
Right.
This is a group that uses culture and art to connect communities and to open up opportunities for economic advancement. Okay.
Right.
Very deliberately, they tour the Western United States and the Eastern United States every year, and I think up into Canada maybe even. And they do that through mariachi. Now, Guadalajara is the birthplace of mariachi. And that is a world-class performance.
I would say.
Right?
That was incredible.
Yes. And remember, we are an international city, meaning we are a world-class place. And we deserve world-class connection and world-class opportunity, world-class performance, right? And that's a mindset we have to change. We are not just Ogden. Damn it, we are Ogden.
I love that. And I love we deserve it.
Dang right we do.
And we're going to take ourselves seriously in order for others to take us seriously, because we do deserve this and our people deserve this.
Right. And we get overlooked so much. Just this morning I was looking at the path of the F-35s flying over Utah, and it's got times and cities. Why isn't Ogden on that? They have North Ogden. Nothing wrong with North Ogden, but we're Ogden.
Yeah.
Why do we continually get left off? Look at the weather. How many times do you see the weather and they don't even mention the weather in Ogden? I obviously have a chip on my shoulder about this.
A little bit. This morning, you're a little feisty. As soon as you said that, I was like, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
You get a little fired up about, but that's what we need. We need someone that says, why is this okay? It's not okay.
It's not okay.
And it's our people deserve to be recognized by the dot on the map.
Right.
And the time
we belong on the map. I mean, I had someone come and request my support for something in Salt Lake, and they put up a thing, and we didn't even have a dot on the damn map. And I lost my mind. I'm like, don't ever come to Ogden without a dot on the map. And the next time you come to Ogden, we are the damn dot. Right?
Yeah.
So, I have a chip on my shoulder, but I think our entire city does, or should. But I
think that's what's cool about Ogden is they're just like,
Right. But that mindset's important because we're not activating opportunity for 1/3 of our city.
Yeah.
And this travel on the personal side led to an opportunity to be on the world stage. And I'm telling you, when I remember being on Times Square. So I'm already going to Washington, D.C. on business travel. So we add one day and a short train ride to go to Times Square, right? The night before.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking on stage
At
Times Square, introducing myself.
Never thought that in
from
your
Ogden,
wildest
Utah,
dreams.
right? And I couldn't even see the end of people. It was just, not that it's like New Year's Eve, but it was packed.
Yeah.
Packed.
Yeah.
That it's nighttime, all the lights. And I go up there, Ben Nadolski, Ogden City Mayor from Ogden, Utah, and the place just erupts, right? I'm like, we are an international city. We are a world-class city. We are welcoming the world through our doorsteps in 2034 for the Winter Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are a Winter Olympic host city, and the place absolutely erupted. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between the way the world sees us and the way we see ourselves, right?
Agreed.
So people are like, why are you spending time traveling? Because we belong in this world, and we are taking our rightful place and our rightful step in this world, and we are doing it on behalf of 1/3 of our city.
Yep.
And so that opportunity, and so I go up to the stage. Part of my presentation in the performance is to present the key to the city to NAIMA, North American Institute for Mexican Advancement, and say, please come back to our city and unlock the doors of opportunity for our people. Mm-hmm. And NAIMA is associated, obviously, with that performance of mariachi. Mm-hmm. And they have since been coming back. And they said, after that presentation, they said, we want you to come to our city now. And we're going to unlock some doors for you and for your people. Okay? It goes both ways.
Right.
This is how international exchange is supposed to work. But you have to build relationships first. You have to invest in people there. And you have to get to a point where they trust you. And what I've learned, especially in Mexico, is that there is a ton of capital and they want to invest in the United States of America and in our people. But they don't really have a connection that they trust in order to do it. And when they have that pipeline of trust, it's an amazing that's how they choose where to invest. Mm-hmm. Rather than here, we look at a pro forma and a business case, et cetera. They look at that, but they really look at that business case where they have connection. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well,
remember that.
Some things that have come from your trip.
Correct.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean,
we've
had some people visit because of that trip.
Absolutely.
With potential investment.
Correct. And so I've taken one city-supported trip to Guadalajara. Mm-hmm. So 5-to-1 personal investment to one public investment. And it was a quick trip because, again, I got sick, not with food poisoning.
You get sick a lot on your trips. Like, I think your body just kind of wears out because you're
I never stop. I never stop.
And you're not out on the beach in Mexico, right? You're out like meeting people.
Right.
You're talking business, talking
bell to bell to bell. And so we formalized a trip, came up with a schedule of who to meet with. I met with the mayor of Guadalajara. She's an incredibly dynamic person. And she and I talked about specific opportunities and introductions, and she helped make introductions to some key local business leaders. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. And her staff were there. So my staff are now connected with her staff, she and I together. And they have a whole host. We don't do much with sister cities. We have Hope, which we can talk about too, because that's a relationship that we are way behind on reciprocating on, way behind.
Yep.
And talk about world significance and history. Right. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So
focus.
Thanks. Sorry. But Guadalajara has a whole network of sister cities that they do trade with. And Guadalajara is not just the birthplace of mariachi. Mm-hmm. It is a world leader in arts and technology. Yes. Right? Arts, culture, technology, advanced manufacturing, etc. This is a huge city.
It is huge. And
huge.
As I said, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, I think it's the second biggest city in Mexico.
Populous for me. Like, I need to.
So it's one of the world's biggest cities. And here we are, Ogden, a city of less than 90,000, acting like we're a big, world's biggest city, right? We got big city mentality. Mm-hmm. And they want to more formalize that connection. But I'm not willing to formalize that connection unless there's real returns, real money, real opportunity for people here. Right. And so that's where we started. On that trip, we met with officials we met with executives around the airline industry and pitched opportunities for tourism to Ogden, specifically around the Ogden airport. Those are being evaluated. We met with the University of Guadalajara. Mm-hmm. It's one of the biggest universities in the world, and they have the preeminent Latin America Film Festival. Huge. Okay, it's in LA and LA only. And they also have, I think it's the second biggest book fair in the world. Enormous.
Really?
Okay, yeah. So we timed our trip because they invited us to come and see the book fair, to see the significance of it and how it could potentially become a part of what we do here in Ogden, because we want to make sure that we're using tourism that benefits our people, right? So remember, 1/3 of our city. These are the kinds of things they want and they need in order for them to thrive in life.
Yeah.
And we have world-class connections now, and we're talking about opportunities for that here.
Right.
University of Guadalajara, we are hopeful for a visit during the upcoming winter, so that we can make some introductions here for tourism, industry relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a great meeting. We toured boxing clinics and camps and academies, as you know.
That's a big sport.
Huge sport.
In the Mexican culture.
Right. And I continually hear that that's something that we underserve here, right?
I think we underserve it in a lot of places in the country, actually.
Correct.
But yes, for
right.
sure here.
But we have a huge history of boxing in our city, and world famous bouts and boxers that have been in this city in the past.
Yeah.
There's amazing stories. And so getting back to our Olympic plans, our Olympic goal is to find an Olympian in this city. That would be our legacy, our Olympic legacy, is if we create all of the programming and all of the access to opportunities for sports, for developing youth and giving kids that opportunity that's affordable and accessible, and develop them in a world-class way. We find an Olympian, all kids.
Right.
Correct.
So you're offering all of the opportunities for all of the cultures represented for those.
Correct. Across as many sports as possible.
Absolutely.
Boxing fits right within that.
Boxing was in, yeah.
1/3 of our city wants that.
Yeah. We're not all skiers.
2/3 of our city is like, why would we ever do that? And it's like, because you don't understand what's being requested and demanded and needed by our people. 1/3, right? They're doing this in garages right now. It's not as safe and it's not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And so we met with world-class developers of youth in Mexico, Guadalajara specifically, where world-class fighters have come out. And we want to take that model here. And there's an RFP right now for a partner out in our community to develop a youth boxing program in Ogden through a private partnership, not us doing it. Someone in our community doing it. And we want to
facilitating
because we have access to grants.
Right.
We have access to funding doesn't have to directly be Ogden City taxpayer funds, but Ogden City taxpayers fund a city governance that has access to grants and donations that others don't, and access to partnerships that can surround an academy like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
All of the solutions are always in partners and with partners.
And it's hard, I think, because sometimes people say, my money shouldn't be used for international travel. And I think I understand the sentiment, but I think it's because they're not understanding or they're not aware that what that travel is actually
correct. And that's on me to share.
Aimed and intent. And that's why we're doing this.
Correct. So I agree that I shouldn't just be gallivanting around the world on junkets, right?
Yeah.
For sure. We have to be super mindful.
You need to be home and help me take these kids to practice if you're going to go doing that.
So should I just fly out to New York City and do a 3-day trip just to be on stage for one? No. But if we can leverage that opportunity while we're already an hour away by train, and let's achieve that efficiency and that savings to get that world-class opportunity.
Yeah.
Look at the door that opened up.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
and when Ballet Folklorico came this year...
Oh, yeah. There you go.
They had a really great, I guess, a segment, that paid homage to the trains meeting.
Correct. So in New York City, I met with other mayors and other prominent community leaders in Mexico and in Latin America, actually, who were in the U.S., and they were there because they have this already, have had it for a while. And we're trying to bring our connection and international relationship and opportunities to where they are. And they told me about the direct investments and the direct benefits. And that's what sold me. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a big deal. And this is an excellent partner for creating that pipeline, right? And so they offered to highlight our culture in their performance
Which was amazing.
which was amazing. It was kind of controversial on their end because you're using the most traditional Mexican cultural arts, especially for that region of Guadalajara in the state of Jalisco, right? To share American culture. But that's the point, is they're trying to use art and culture to bridge that, build that connection. And so they came here and they toured the Western United States and showed it. And they had a whole film, a short film about our railroad history in Ogden, Utah. And they shared that around the entire Western United States. Mm-hmm. And then they did an entire performance about it, and it was incredible. And then we had local volunteers who were Union Station and train enthusiasts, historians, like advocates for that place through and through. Mm-hmm. They went on the stage with us. We recreated the driving of the Golden Spike photo, along with our partners and friends at Team USA and Olympics. And we said, same thing we said in Mexico, or in Times Square. We are Ogden, Utah. We are welcome the world back through our doorsteps at the Union Station when the Olympics come in 2034. It is our goal to welcome the world back through the doors of Union Station, through that grand lobby, the same way that we always welcome this world. Mm-hmm. That's why we are who we are and where we are, and why 25th Street developed the way we welcome the world through the rail, right? Right. And we want to do it again using the front runner and tracks and commercial train travel. Yeah. But instead of everybody dropping off north of the Union Station, our vision is to connect them with the Union Station once again, right?
I would love that. That would be great.
So tell me that we're not advancing Ogden's interests when we do these things, right? We're telling that story, and do you think we're going to be able to use Ogden taxpayer dollars to fix a problem like that? Like, that's way bigger than Ogden City. Yeah. We have to have state, federal, and international partners to help make a move like that happen. Right. And we have to have an opportunity like the Olympics to even think it's possible, right? Right. So that's what is our time-bounded opportunity. Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly excited about like the work that you were gone a lot to Guadalajara for all those self-funded trips, but I always knew that there was something coming from it. Yeah. And you always come back energized and excited. So I'm glad we do that. So let's talk a little bit about our sister city in Germany.
Hof,
Germany. They came last year, I think, their mayor and some of their city council.
Year before, I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah, so
it was.
I remember I just started as mayor in January 2024. Shortly after is the Hoffest. And they often do bring a delegation because they treasure our relationship. And their mayor is called Lord Mayor. And they brought council members, which they have a bunch of council members there. There was a lot. Yeah, their form of government, their sister governance is totally different than ours. And their individual city council members, they kind of affiliate with a party type of a structure, and they also oversee individual components of the city operation. And so they have a lot of interest in the way we govern, but they also have a lot of interest in how we do projects across all of those different departments. And so they come here and they learn from us, and they always say, we want you to come here. They're like, you guys don't come. And we've been lucky that we've had a couple people and a few people that have really invested personal money into that relationship in the past. And that's really the only times that we've ever been back.
When was the last time?
Like council members Wicks and Gochner have made efforts, or like when they've been on vacation, they trying to add that to their trip, just like I did with Guadalajara, right? Yeah. And Guatemala, by the way.
Yeah, we didn't talk about. We'll talk
about that too. Yeah. Another personal investment that is leading to wins for Ogden. But anyway, this is an international relationship. It's the oldest sister city relationship in the world with Germany.
So that, when I read that, I actually didn't know that. I read that in the paper, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
And how do we not honor that? That's it's kind of disappointing in the fact that we don't honor it in the same way that they do. Yeah. And they have built, and we have built, an entire festival, an event around that relationship for years. And you see that investment from them when they come, and we build our program and our event around their presence, and it builds significance for that moment for our people here. Yeah. And we're not repaying that for their people. Oh. And I think that that's a travesty. I think that's, we're talking about post-World War II world relations with Germany. And we are the oldest, first established relationship with the city in Germany and the United States post-World War. And we are not honoring that. I'm sorry, but we have an obligation.
Yeah.
We have a
We're
moral
an international city.
and ethical duty and obligation to honor history and to honor that relationship and to do our part, because they've been doing theirs and we haven't been doing ours. Right?
Absolutely.
So to spend $3,500 for just me to go and honor that for decades,
Yeah.
to make up for decades of lost time, I think is an obligation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I think it's justifiable, especially in light of the 5 trips to Guadalajara that I've done in order to open up opportunities on my own dime, and a trip to Guadalajara on my own dime, or Guatemala on my own dime to open up opportunities, which we can also talk about, right?
Yeah. Is anyone else from City Council going?
City Council's going.
Everyone?
I think so.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I don't know how they're handling it on their end, but
Yeah.
I'm just hearing how I'm handling it on my end. But
I think it makes a statement. To have
it's an
whole,
important statement.
because their council came.
Many members of their council came, like
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
They're making way more investment in honoring it more than we are.
Yeah.
And we've got work to do to fix that.
Yeah.
And they're planning enormous events on their end around our presence.
So excited for you guys to
Yeah. So this is an investment in our friendships and our partners in Germany, in our history of our relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that we're the administration that's going to do that by just sending me. Like, we're not sending a whole delegation because, let's be honest, we have to be very mindful about how we spend city resources.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
reducing it to just me,
Yeah.
because that's the significance on their end, what they're planning, I think is important.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about being mindful of resources, because when you went to Guatemala recently, that was also self-funded. And the reason for that was...
Okay. You remember earlier when we said that local business members here who are achieving success come from success sometimes where they're from, or maybe they have childhood connections who have achieved success. That's certainly the case for Luis Lopez. He was in the place and in circles that were significant in Mexico when he came here. And we should have him on the show and let him share his story, because his story is incredible. I mean, it is incredible. There will be movies and books written about him
Hollywood
and his
story, man.
family.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And so we have a business member here, right? Gilmar owns Tokyo Station as one of his things. And he has helped open doors in Guatemala. And when he said he had these relationships, we met with the governor's office. Actually, so Gilmar invited them out and they came out here.
That's right.
Right? So
Yeah,
the
we
president
had them.
of the Guatemalan Congress came to Ogden. And admittedly, at first I don't recognize the significance. It's like, whoa, what does that mean? We are not a city that's used to having those kinds of visitors. Other world-class cities are. Okay? And they're very prepared. They understand the logistics and the protocols internationally. And that's the thing that other cities customarily do, including cities of our size all across the country. And we haven't, because we have not honored our international significance or our opportunities and connections through local business owners and leaders.
Right.
And so Gilmar brought the president of the Congress of Guatemala here.
And that's
like
pretty...
the Speaker of the House. They're a unicameral government.
Yeah.
So it's like the Senate president and the Speaker of the House for the country in one.
Wow.
So if there are 2 prominent figures in Guatemala, it's the president and the president of Congress. That's the 2, right?
Yeah.
So he comes here and we hit it off, of course, and they have an agenda of their own, and we help facilitate their agenda, including introducing him and his team to the governor and his team. And one of the things that the governor's team said that is missing, and the Guatemalan community in Utah is like 15,000 strong or something. I can't remember the exact number, but there's a lot of people that come here from Guatemala, and we do not have a consulate or here in Utah. So we do for other nations. And the governor's office said, this is a glaring omission that we would love to rectify. And there is a consulate in Denver. And the first step you take that I've learned is that you start with an honorary consul in the state. And Guatemala's goal, we learned, because we self-funded a trip to go out there. We met with their State Department and the President of Congress. He introduced me to a number of different officials, and their goal is to have an honorary consul in every state in the nation, and it's been very hard for them to develop those relationships. Mm-hmm. Very hard. So we have met with their State Department, picked up all of the paperwork and the requirements for that relationship to happen, and they're coming back again, and we'll be bringing them back to the governor's office mm-hmm. to formalize the relationship, and we have an honorary consul selected here in Utah, mm-hmm. and we've actually already used that relationship to help somebody in another city who went through personal tragedy, mm-hmm. Help reconnect their family with their home, right?
Yep.
And that was a very tragic circumstance, but that's the kind of leadership that Ogden has, mm-hmm. because we have connections through our business community.
Yeah. And
I think that we are leaving opportunities off the table mm-hmm. of international significance mm-hmm. that can help our people here, right? Because community engagement is not just at the kitchen table. It ranges all the way from the kitchen table to international and everything in between.
Right.
Right?
So why did you decide to do a self-funded trip for this?
Because it was the right thing to do.
Right.
It was important. We had an opportunity to help people.
Right.
So we did it.
But what I mean, I guess, is rather than using city funds to travel to do something like that. I feel like...
It's because of the same thing in the last 5 trips to Guadalajara is I didn't see yet the direct economic exchange and opportunity for Ogden yet. So I didn't feel like I should do that yet. You just
need to actually be proven.
Correct. If it gets to that point, maybe I will, but very judiciously. Yeah. But again, you said it's silly season.
Yeah.
People want to share half-truths and say, you do that, and not share the whole story.
Right.
And granted, it's my story to share, and if I haven't shared it, that's on me, but I'm glad we've shared 45 minutes of time to do that. But and we haven't even hit all the details. We've had 3 professional soccer groups come to Ogden, and they're serious about Ogden. Mm-hmm. They look at our people, our economics, right, our socioeconomic. Mm-hmm. Someone's coming to Ogden, right. And we're going to do that and formalize our partnership with Weber County to go out and say, okay, who else is interested? Because we're gonna move on world-class opportunity for Ogden, mm-hmm. and it wouldn't have happened if not for that first trip in 2019.
Are you sure it was 2019?
I think it was. I might be wrong on the year.
I went with you in 2019. I don't think that was the first time you went.
Anyways,
it doesn't matter.
You know me in dates.
I do.
Anyway, wouldn't have happened if not for us building those pathways and those pipelines.
Absolutely.
And so more things are coming. I'm really excited about it. Mm. And we'll share those as they come. Just as we've got an RFP for boxing, whatever relationship that leads to with anybody that's interested in this community, we're going to share what that leads to. And it's not going to be everything all at once. It's going to be a slow build, but that's what building community is.
Right.
Right? And we're serving people by doing that. That's my job. That's why we're here.
And serving, and maybe if you're part of the people that don't feel like you're being served, maybe think about who it is actually serving and why, right? You've got that third of people that have a very different background and culture and needs than, another portion of the community.
Right. Like I don't play soccer. I don't like soccer. Why do I care about professional soccer having interest in Ogden? Well, there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah, there is.
Or my kid doesn't box. My kid plays softball. Well, there's a lot of kids in our city that love to box and want to box.
Yeah.
We've got clubs in the 2 high schools that are jam-packed and introductory opportunities at Marshall White mm-hmm. that could feed a pipeline of development for kids beyond that, right? Yeah. It's all about creating the pipelines, and we can do that through connections, through opportunity and partners.
Right.
Real people, real.
Well, and what I love about this is obviously we've shared a little bit about your travel, where you're spending your time, your resources, and why, right? And I think what I love about that is it also comes back to enhancing Ogden, and it is so much about the diversity that it brings in, and how that just builds our community up so much.
Well, and there's even more to it. I'm certain I've left off some of the wins from our one trip to Guadalajara because I haven't rattled off the entire agenda of who I met with. But both.
Oh, yeah.
Both. Guadalajara, there's more coming. And if you think about it, I just had a meeting a couple days ago. I'm on the Olympic host community committee for the Olympic organizing committee. We're advisory to the whole organizing group, and the goal of that group is to prepare cities to welcome the world. And we have a lot of work to do in order to change the way we view ourselves, but also the way we are built administratively to welcome the world. And these steps of community engagement and international opportunity and economic connection are preparing us for 2034. But what about like World Trade Center, Utah? Why aren't we more engaged there? Some engagement, we can do more. That's an area we have got to be at the table.
Right.
And if we don't have international significance or international mindset, we're missing international and world-class opportunity, period. So me and my administration, we're going to be engaging with people from kitchen table to the world stage and everything in between. And you've been with me for a lot of that here locally. And I've got staff that are prepared to help us. And it's not just doing things for feel good. It's doing things that are real good, real results.
Weber State's track and cross country team years ago, back when I was in college, they had T-shirts and it said locally grown, because they were all local kids that ran, and they were, but nationally known. And that just kind of makes me think.
It's a good one.
Locally grown in Ogden, internationally known, and I'd love to see something like that.
Do you remember before we had kids, we traveled all of Europe and we almost exclusively stayed with teammates?
Yes.
From our
All
days
over the
at sports
world.
at Weber State.
Yeah.
Look at the leverage we could access in the world, right?
Yeah.
Through relationships, if we do it with deliberate attention.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, and I think this will help answer a lot of questions some people may have, because I'm sure that, like we said, silly season is always silly season, but we are definitely nearing a peak as campaigns get going and agendas and
right, and they still may not agree, and that's fine.
They don't have to agree.
We don't all agree on everything. That's not what unity means. But all I would ask is, if you're thinking about something, then you're like, that has no relevance for me. Think about the relevance it has for others. I'm not just the mayor for you. I'm the mayor for everyone here in Ogden.
Right.
Period. And when you engage in those corners, like we talked about with the Marshallese, with the Casual community, with going to church on West 24th Street last week.
Which was so fun, yeah.
That's how you learn who we are and what all of Ogden's needs are. And that's why we do the kind of work that we do, from kitchen table to the international world stage and everything in between.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming today to your office to interview you.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Make sure you go and like and subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.